Mhm.
All right, welcome to the Let Freedom Ring live stream. We just wanted to jump on here. As everybody knows, Let Freedom Ring does at times cover wrestling, and we have some really sad news in the wrestling business today with the passing of Bray Wyatt. On the stream tonight, I have Mike DiStefano from the Coming Down the Aisle podcast. Mike, welcome to the show.
What's up, Dan?
And I also have from Team Awesome, one of the largest Facebook wrestling pages, Lorenzo, on Facebook, but I have Lorenzo Dozier on the show as well. So welcome, Lorenzo.
Thank you. Pleasure having me.
Yeah, I get to see you a lot on Instagram. I'm always waiting for you to jump to on your way home from work. So
Yeah, which I'll be leaving soon. So my visit on your show is going to be a little short, but hopefully I could get a few words in as we're talking.
Yeah, absolutely. So the news broke this afternoon. I was actually recording in the studio. I had a few missed text messages saying Bray Wyatt had passed. As a wrestling fan, we have come accustomed to losing quite a few of our favorite wrestling superstars. And anytime in a situation like this, it's Terry Funk died yesterday at 79, but Bray Wyatt, 36 years old. This one hurts. What are your guys' thoughts on that? I do want to talk about Bray's career, but
Go ahead, Lorenzo. You can go first.
Well, as you pointed out, we just had a recent passing the other day with Terry Funk, and although I didn't really grow up too much with Terry Funk, I know that he is a hardcore legend. I've seen some of his matches in Japan. Seen a few clips here and there of his career, and to go from that, we were grieving over that, to then this just came out of nowhere. To be honest, I didn't even know about this until one of my fans, they messaged me privately just saying, "Oh, did you hear about Bray Wyatt?" Then I didn't like make nothing of it because I was just skimming. But then my brother texts me, and then a few other people just like sending me messages. Like I'm like, what is going on? Then I see on Twitter about it, and I'm like, oh snap, this is legit.
yeah, just horrible news. Mike, how'd you hear about this?
Actually, I was just resting for a little while, and then when I got up, I got to the phone. I saw James texted me, James, my co-host, and he said Bray Wyatt passed away, and I went, "What the f?" And I was like, and it's funny. I mean, funny not in a funny way, but I saw something on Facebook where they said -1 Brody Lee Jr. Now his father died, and now his godfather passed away in less than a 2-year span. When did Brody die? Like 2020 or 2021?
2020 in
I believe in
December.
2020.
2020,
Yeah.
right? So in less than 3 years, he lost his dad and his godfather. And
Yeah.
JoJo with and the two kids. I mean, it's really sad. I mean, Bray, and Funk died yesterday, and we were talking. Everybody was talking about Terry Funk. And Lorenzo, if you want to watch a really good match, watch him and Ric Flair in that I Quit match in the NWA. That was a hell of a match to watch. But like I grew up on Terry Funk, and I was like, wow, but he was 79 and he had health problems. But we knew Bray was having health issues that were COVID related. He was gone since the Royal Rumble, and they kept saying it's health related. Health related. Oh, he's coming back soon. It's just health related. And everybody thought that Bray was going to leave again, and it wasn't. It was health related. And unfortunately, I mean, he had a heart attack, and they couldn't save him. And it's sad. He could have been this modern day era's Undertaker if it was done right.
Yeah, he was very like unbelievable creative. Like in his short, like he was a WWE main roster like 12 years in the WWE, 12 years around there.
He was in FCW as Duke Rotunda. Then he came up as Husky Harris with the NXT when it was the game show version. Then he went back down to FCW, and then he started the Bray Wyatt gimmick with Brody and Eric Redbeard Rowan, and then that took off, and that was probably the best version of him. I think was the Eater of Worlds.
Yeah, Lorenzo, I want to go through his career real quick, but Lorenzo, like, we kind of want to talk about. I know that your time's limited, so his impact on the wrestling business. How do you look at that?
I mean, I look at Bray Wyatt. He has evolved. Like he reminds me of, you see how like Chris Jericho is still going. He's been evolving his career. Matt Hardy is another one at one point that was just evolving his character, and to go through so many different gimmicks and still staying relevant. Bray Wyatt, as Mike mentioned, he could have been this generation's Undertaker. One of my former students contacted me earlier, and I'm 33. Bray Wyatt, he passed away at 36, and then my student, he's like 19 or 20 right now. This was his Undertaker. So when he was texting me like, "Oh, this is one of the wrestlers that got him into wrestling growing up," it's like that really hit him a lot hard because we grew up with like Kane and the Undertaker, and anybody that's like in their early 20s, they probably had the Wyatt family. And to see somebody like Bray, who was a creative genius but wasn't used to his full potential, it really sucks because here's a guy that he had so many failed opportunities, with the exception of him winning the WWE championship, which I feel like was like one of the biggest highlights of his career. And then to go disappear because his health issues, mentally and physically, and then to come back, and one of his last feuds was with LA Knight. It would have been Lashley had things behind closed doors that happened with him, but I feel like Bray Wyatt left like a big impact on LA Knight currently right now because here's a guy that's like 40. I feel like 40 is now the new 20 with these WWE superstars because you got guys like AJ Styles, Cody's 38, Drew's like 38, Finn Balor's 40. These guys are doing way better than the people that are in their late 20s and early 30s right now. And they need to do something with LA Knight before that buzz that he has going on fizzles out. But, switching back to Bray Wyatt, here's a man that had he came back, he would have really, like, I was really looking forward to this new version of him that he brought back with Uncle Howie, and the Wyatt Six, whatever they was about to plan with this guy. Like, I'm just sad that we didn't really get to see what that could have become.
No, absolutely. And everybody watch, I will get to the comments shortly. Yeah, I mean, I kind of do want to talk about this a little bit. You know, I just kind of want to talk about like his impact on the business and how important. I mean, if you look at it, it's been brought up. He started as Husky Harris. He was on the new. If you guys remember the original NXT, where it was kind of like a game show, and they had to have a veteran wrestler be like their coach, I guess, like that, or mentor. I guess I don't recall this, but I guess Cody was his mentor on the show. I could be
Yeah,
wrong. Um, but if you look at like he evolved in his career. I mean, when he was Husky Harris, I thought he could wrestle at the time, but he's wearing like the cowboy boots, and it really wasn't going anywhere. I think he was in the new Nexus or something. What are you gonna say, Mike?
Oh no, well no, you're right on that. He was it was rookie and pro, so he was the rookie and
Okay.
Cody was his pro. He labeled himself as the Sherman tank with a Ferrari engine. That's the way he labeled himself. So I mean, you know, and I mean, the Husky Harris character was pretty good. I mean, like Lorenzo said, like growing up, he like his Undertaker. I'm older than you, Dan, and a lot older than Lorenzo. I grew up watching his dad and his uncle as the U.S. Express as WWF Tag Team Champions. Because Barry and Mike Wyndham and Mike Rotunda were a tag team back in the 80s. So
Yeah, I mean, and it's fine. The Rotundas never. Well, I know IRS or the father Rotunda. He
Mike
did
Rotunda.
wrestle. Mike Rotunda wrestled under his name at one point in WWE, but most of the time, all their gimmicks were not related to the family like other wrestling families. Like he was IRS, Bo Dallas was Bo Dallas, and Bray was Bray.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing him when he first came in, and I liked him, but he really wasn't going anywhere. But then, if we're kind of looking at the timeline here, you had, and there's a good documentary on Peacock now about Florida Championship Wrestling that would eventually become NXT. And this is kind of where he starts the Bray Wyatt character, which is what he's, now known. Very similar to a character that didn't work in WWE originally, and I'm sorry, I'm blanking on things tonight. But there was
that was Mercy. Waylon Mercy, played by Dan Spivey. Dan on that one.
Okay, so Bray kind of does a similar gimmick here, and I remember seeing this in NXT. I didn't watch NXT rigorously at the time, but I remember hearing him speak and be like, "Whoa, this is totally different. This is something you don't see on television right now. This cult leader-like character." And I remember just thinking, "I'm pretty interested in that." What did you think, Lorenzo?
Um, well, they were actually because I've been watching NXT since I want to say the original NXT was like 2010, but like the revamped version, like the one that you just showed us, I think that was like 2012, 2013 ish. Um, that version, I know at the time when the Wyatt family was just now getting started, they was comparing it to like the Duck Dynasty, and here's a guy that was just speaking in riddles, and it made sense, but didn't make sense. But you was like, oh, this just sounded cool. You didn't care what was coming out of his mouth because it's like it was all twists and turns and stuff, and but you were still intrigued by what he was saying to you, and I'm glad that it took off the way it did because like he caught people's interest at the time when he wasn't on the main roster. And he had that whole Sutter long beard. It had the swamps, the alligators and stuff. I love those vignettes that they used to make with him and stuff. And he was just a fascinating character. It was kind of like that. Would it work on a main roster type thing, or was this just better for NXT at the time? Smaller audience. But the minute he came to the main roster with this Wyatt family, it's like and we had the Shield at the time. So it's
Yes.
like you had, two of these loading upcoming factions. And I feel like that's one thing that we're kind of missing today with today's WWE. The factions really brought some interest. Those 3-man factions or those 4-man factions that we had, like we're really missing a lot of that with the, yeah, we got the bloodline, but that's kind of like diffusing right now. We had the Hurt Business before. Um, the Wyatt family was a special group of people, and I really miss having that faction in WWE and Bray Wyatt being the leader. The things that come out of his mouth was just magic.
He was mesmerizing. I mean, what do you think, Mike?
I like when I first saw it. I love the idea because it actually was a playoff of the movie Cape Fear, Robert De Niro's
Yes.
character.
Yes.
That's where they came up with this, and they also combined that with, like we said, the failed Waylon Mercy gimmick. That's where they got Mercy the Buzzard from, was the Waylon Mercy character. So, but Lorenzo mentioned that Shield, that standoff that time before Elimination Chamber, before they did the 6-man tag. That standoff alone, the fans were going crazy. Nothing was said.
Everybody was marking out. Everybody.
I mean, I was home marking out to it. I mean, that's how good it was. You got all 6 of them in the ring staring each other down, and that's it. No words said. That's how good this was.
Yeah. So he gets he gets a lot of hype. In NXT, they get called to the main roster I don't know, at some point in 2014, I want to say.
I believe it was 2014. I think you're right on that.
So he comes up, he brings Harper and Rowan, and
they attacked Team Hell No, I believe.
Okay, and they were the mask was creepy that Rowan wore. Like they came onto the scene, and you wanted to see them on television. I think everybody can agree with that. That was that they're not someone you would change the channel on if they were on.
Dan, I might say incorrectly. I think it was 13 they came up because the match with him and Cena at WrestleMania 30 was 2014.
Yeah, so maybe it must have been 2013 then. You're right. I'm trying to remember the timeline. I didn't get to look up too much stuff before we started, but I mean, they came on, and I mean, and you're right. I think was his first WrestleMania against Cena?
Yep.
And you had that whether he was going to get Cena to turn heel and all this stuff. And if you remember the video package from that WrestleMania, they used Eminem's Legacy. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it was all types of perfect. I really wanted Bray to win that match. I think
everybody wanted Bray to win that match except for Vince.
I don't know. There's certain matches with Cena that we get it, but at the same time, it's like you knew you did something wrong with that ending because Cena has his share of losses in his career, right? But Cena could recover from all of these losses and still be on top. Bray Wyatt needed that win more than John Cena, especially with that video package alone that they set up for that match. I felt like that. I was like, I wanted Bray Wyatt to go over that night.
And the best part is like, even when Cena was looking like he was going to get disqualified, and Bray kept yelling at him, "Seal your legacy." And he had the chair in his hand. He's ready to hit him with the chair. The ref is going, "John, don't do this."
Yeah, I remember one of the best pictures is before WrestleMania. They had John Cena like tied up in the ropes, the whole Wyatt family, and they put the mask on him. I thought that was like just so cool. Like I thought the whole group was just so unique.
Well, what about that scary
different
part with the kid stinging the whole world in his hands, right in Cena's face?
Yeah, there was, and they address it later at WrestleMania 36 about the heel turn. A lot of people thinking, is Bray going to push John to finally crack?
Mm-hmm.
Just really good stuff. And I think by the end of 2014, Bray Wyatt's involved in one of the best moments, I think, of the year. No, I'm sorry. At the end of 2013. So he wrestled Cena after. But do you guys remember when Daniel Bryan joined the Wyatt family?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was like the funniest thing though, because I always said he looked like a guy that would
Duke,
work at a gas station.
he looked like Duke the Dumpster Drosy.
I mean, like he looked like somebody if you pull up and the guy would come to like fill up your tank and change your oil, check your oil or something. He looked like he belonged like working in a sitco or something.
Yeah, it was really unique. But Daniel Bryan turning on Bray and being locked in the cage with Bray was like that was one of the moments that I think that's probably one of the better Raw moments of like
That
that
started the
decade.
Yes movement.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely, and the crowd because everything they wanted with Daniel Bryan they weren't getting, and then they added him to the Wyatt family, really pissing off the fans. And then for him to turn on Bray in such epic fashion. But you don't have that moment, right, without Bray Wyatt being the heel that he was.
What's crazy though about that is that they did the turn with Daniel over the Wyatt family better than they did with Cena with Nexus. Like I feel like the way that they did Cena with Nexus was so disrespectful. You had potential to really push the envelope with Cena at the time being with that faction, whereas Bray Wyatt and Daniel Bryan, I feel like Daniel Bryan's career actually benefited from being a part of that group for that short period of time because we all wanted him to, break this group apart. But he didn't really damage the Wyatt family the way Cena did with Nexus.
No, I think everybody was better off. Everybody got something out of that, right? That propelled Daniel Bryan to the title, and Bray Wyatt, win or lose, had a match with John Cena at WrestleMania. I mean, can you have a better opponent than that?
Yeah.
Bray had a great entrance though for that one with the
Oh yeah,
band that plays his theme. They actually performed it live. So
he always had a great entrance. People started, when he would come out. I have a video from like Survivor Series 2013, and everybody had the lights out and everything. Like he had a very incredible entrance. Like this guy passing away at 36 is like, I think you said it on Facebook, maybe Lorenzo, talking about, it's like Guerrero. He's in his prime at 36. He had so much more time to give before he retired from wrestling. Like this is like unbelievably tragic.
It really is. Like I said, it took me a minute to process it when I received all these messages because usually I'd be on top of these things in advance. I pick and choose and be mindful of what like I post on my page. You know how this goes. I've been doing this for like, over 10 years.
Long time, yeah.
I carefully cite things that I put on my page. I fact check everything. Even with the Edge story that happened recently, I didn't mention nothing about Edge or his contract at all on my page until he made that video on Twitter. And I talked about that instead. So that saved my behind from, other wrestling pages that, put that report out there about, oh, Edge is not sure about what to do with his career or, he's going to AEW, it's stuff like this to avoid the embarrassment. But with Bray Wyatt, like, I was really unsure about that too until 10 people sent me the same thing. And I said, oh, snap, this really did happen, you know?
Well, it tells you the society that we're living in now, where you get news as soon as it breaks. I had the text messages. Like I said, I was in the studio, and then I just log into Facebook, and it's everywhere, and it's like I said, very very shocking. He does go on though. 2014 happens. 2015, he gets to WrestleMania, has a match with the Undertaker, another in losing fashion. But I mean, he was kept gaining ground, right? Eventually he gets the title in 2016. I think I like took a picture of that and posted it on my Facebook because how happy everybody was. And now and I'm blanking right now who he beat for that title. It might have been Cena. Was that when Cena beat AJ and then Bray beat Cena or something like that?
Man, it's been so long. It's been a while since I
It's fun.
legit.
I
Look
remember
like that.
wrestling better from the 90s and in the 2000s than I remember wrestling recently.
That is true. Like I mean, it's like like you have a brain fart. Like it's there, it's easy to remember, but then it's like you just blank out. But to piggyback off of what you said about Undertaker and Bray Wyatt before, but it's after 11, I gotta get ready to go. Um, I do want to say that I always said anybody that faces the Undertaker at WrestleMania, right? Whoever beats the Undertaker, this was like before Brock did it. Anybody that beats the Undertaker, their career has to transcend for the next few years prior to beating the Undertaker. I always said that, and I felt like Bray Wyatt should have been the one to do it. He should have been the one to do it, and I think his career would have never been affected for at least 2 years alone, because it's one of those situations where you have to mega push that person that beats the Undertaker to make them feel like they're invincible. You see what they're doing with Roman Reigns? That's the booking of a person that defeats the Undertaker. But to have Roman have done it, and you see how his career is now, that's how Bray Wyatt's career should have been had he went over to the Undertaker. Because Brock, to be honest, I respect that Brock was the one to do it. But you see, Brock Brock for his entire career has been perfect. Like there's really nothing that affects this person. Even in loss, Brock Lesnar recovers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that Bray needed to beat the Undertaker. I thought Bray was an attraction on his own. He was never going to be the Roman Reigns of the company. That's just not what his shtick was. But I mean, I think he was more unique. I don't know if you guys feel. I don't know. I'm happy he won world titles, but I don't think Bray Wyatt for that character even needed world titles. To be quite frank.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, like I said, just to I just felt like at that time, his character. Yes, it's true. Like there's certain characters in the business that they go beyond the title reigns, and Bray was one of those characters. I mean, with the exception of him winning, the WWE title or the Universal Championship or whatever. Um, he he was one of those characters that I felt like it's like a what if. What would have happened had he went over Taker? Would his character transcended beyond that? Would he even had needed the Wyatt family anymore? Like, would he be bigger on his own?
Well, that's something we have to talk about though, because he goes on. He doesn't win that match, but he wins the title. He does a bunch of things. He had that tag team with Orton, and then Orton tricked him in 2016. I'm blanking on a lot of like post that, but then he reinvents himself and gives us what I think has been one of the best characters in wrestling in this generation, which was the Fiend, which sometimes he was the Fiend and sometimes he was the child, the Mister Rogers type character. I think this is just one of the most unique characters they had. I love the mask. I own the mask. I really think you could have made a movie out of this character on top of this. I just think it was just very super, super unique. And I think that's really what the legacy of Bray Wyatt is. He was a very creative, unique genius. And to me,
Yeah.
like I said, I don't think he needed world titles. I think he was just a very, very unique character. And I don't think you'll ever see anybody like him again. I just don't. And that's the thing about wrestling, right? Like you get unique characters like this. You're never going to see another Undertaker. And whether Bray Wyatt is on the level of the Undertaker that he's not going to be a forgotten character by any means.
He's definitely not. But I do want to close myself out. I will be watching the remainder of this conversation. But it was a pleasure of you having me on for the time being
Yes.
to speak about Bray Wyatt. I do want to point one thing out about Bray Wyatt. Like I really loved his time with Matt Hardy. Um, those were like one of my favorite times with him. You know, the broken gimmick merged with Bray Wyatt's universe was a nice collaboration. I enjoyed his time with just having the Wyatt family by itself. The Fiend, I know you started speaking about the Fiend. That character, like I said, he evolves. He made somebody with a mask relevant, even with the whole getting set on fire and coming back recently. And to have Uncle Howdy and everything, it's just he's truly going to be missed. Like, he was really a creative genius, and I feel like they could have did so much more with this man had he didn't have his health problems recently. I really feel like after his stunt with LA Knight recently, they could have did something bigger with him. He would really be missed.
Yeah, I agree. You always could do more, but I just think that to me as a fan, not anybody that will ever be forgotten. And a lot of the wrestlers that die young truly do never. They're remembered forever because
Yeah,
he left us in his prime, and it's just horrible. You know.
yeah.
So,
All right,
all right, Lorenzo, we appreciate you. I'll see you on Instagram soon. I'm sure.
all right, man. Take care.
All right, you too. Mike, anything you want to add to that? We did have some comments come through. Oh, I think Kendall was trying to jump into the stream. Justin saying, "Hey
What's up,
guys,
Justin?
um, I agree that mental illness is no joke, Justin, 100%. I know Bray had some medical issues. It's true." Kendall commented, let's see, about summer of 2013. Yeah, we're definitely off on a lot of dates here. Except Vince, like him personally. Except for Vince, like him personally. I'm glad you like to. Some people like to throw out bait. Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely confused on a lot of years. Elimination Chamber. Yeah, he won the title. Seemed to be. Yep. And yeah. Oh, and Kendall, I don't know if you're still around. We're gonna wrap this up soon, but I appreciate the support, guys. Any final things you want to say, Mike? It was definitely a very shocking day.
Yeah,
Um, and it's one of those things where we diehard wrestling fans, we really, this is not like losing someone that you knew or anything like that, but it is shocking. A 36-year-old man dies of a heart attack. My college roommate passed away similarly recently, and it's just heartbreaking. So, end of the day, your health is wealth.
yep, absolutely. No, I mean, 30. I'm 49, and I'm like, that's young. I mean, like, so he passes away at 36. It just shows you like time is short, and
It is.
you gotta live for the moments, I guess, because you need to. And like I said, I feel horrible for JoJo and the kids and Mike Rotunda himself and the whole
Yeah.
family. It's like we said that his family history has so much. Where he had Blackjack Mulligan was his grandfather, Mike Rotunda father, Barry Windham your uncle. That's a learning tree right there. You
Yeah,
know,
absolutely. And
and
yeah.
and it's really sad, and he's going to be missed. I'm sure Vince never lets you down when it comes to memorializing somebody. Somebody like when we lost Owen Hart or when we lost Eddie. Those shows that they did when they happened were fantastic, and I'm sure they're going to do something. Especially when Bray was a SmackDown wrestler anyway. He was on SmackDown, so I'm sure tomorrow night we're going to get a really good memorial show for him as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. I'd like to tune into that for sure. One word to for the legacy of Bray Wyatt.
I'm sorry.
If you had one word to define what the legacy is for Bray Wyatt.
Unfinished.
Yeah, that's painful to think about, and I would definitely say, and
And
I
I
said it.
and I'm not saying that as because he passed away. I'm saying is there was so much more that was going to be done if there wasn't the health issues, if there wasn't, you know, issues with his health and all this stuff. Like Lorenzo said earlier, that Wyatt six, I wanted to know what was going down with that and what was that going to be like. And unfortunately, we never got to it.
No, I agree. I'm just gonna say, and I said it with Lorenzo. I think he's gonna be unforgettable. This is gonna be someone that people are talking about as is very creative, and you just again losing someone passing away in their prime in the wrestling industry has happened so many times, and it's just this. I saw comments on like NBC of people saying like steroids and stuff like that. It's like you don't know anything about the current wrestling business, and
No, I
this
mean,
is
like the media is so stupid. Like they don't know what was going on. Like we knew from stories from hearing like from Meltzer and Sapp and Mike Johnson and stuff that he did have issues relating from COVID.
yeah.
And it lasted a lot longer than what we thought. And when he came back, he thought he was fine. And then whatever started this up again started up, and you know we we lost some really good talent way too soon.
Yeah, no, absolutely heartbreaking. But we're praying for Bray Wyatt's family, and a truly heartbreaking story. But I'm glad we are able just want to jump on for a little bit and just address this. But everybody out there, we'll have a happier episodes to be talking about soon. But until next time, let freedom ring.